This little park is actually a like historical cultural type of park where you can learn about the Hawaiian people before, let's just call it what it was, colonization, and what their lifestyles were like and stuff. But we are here very early today because we slept 5 minutes away from this, and we didn't get to come yesterday while they're open because we forgot about it. So we aren't going to get to see any of the cultural stuff. We're just here to see the view and the statues. And I completely lost my train of thought. We got turned on to a little place called Lis Kitchen. Did I do that right?
Yep.
And somebody on Instagram had noticed that we were in Hawaii on the Big Island, and they had been like, "Yo, if you're over in this area, then you got to come to this place for breakfast." And we actually happened to be staying near this place, so it was really easy for us to get here. And I can see why this would be recommended because it is like a pretty legit breakfast place. It's one of those like farm to table type of places. The staff is really cool, and it looks like that they're spinning some food that is probably popular with tourists, but there are local people that are going to be coming in here as well, definitely, just because of the quality of it. So we've ordered a bowl of fruit, and we've ordered a big breakfast. And I'm going to start with a little bit of fruit. There's a bunch of different things on here. I think that the most visually appealing is the literal star fruit. And there he is, shaped like a star. Star fruit is, have you never had it? Kind of like, I want to say it almost kind of, it tastes like rind. To be honest, it doesn't taste, it's like a little bit wet, but like if you were to bite into an edible wet watermelon rind, but kind of citrusy a little bit. I wouldn't say that it's one of my favorite fruits, but you know, in a platter, it's like pretty cool to check that out. Other things that are just on here, of course, a couple of citruses, a little piece of pineapple, a papaya. I was kind of excited about this. This is a strawberry banana, she said. I love bananas, but I don't know. This is a good banana. It's got a little bit of, this is a different flavor in that banana that is usually something that you don't normally get. I think these might be, maybe they're like those red bananas, you know, you see those sometimes at like the grocery store and you're like, who's that? Maybe, maybe it's like that. I don't know what it looks like when it's not peeled, but yeah, I mean, it's a tasty banana, but they're all tasty. And then we have this, and this is a long gone, and it is a little wooden-esque looking outside thing, and I'm going to peel it open, and on the inside it looks a bit like a rambutan, or yeah, like a rambutan. It's like a clear-esque looking meat on the inside.
Hawaiians pronounce that rambutan.
Oh yeah, they did. We heard somebody say it rambutan. That's not, maybe we say it wrong. I have no idea. So I'm gonna peel this a bit. It's a lot like a rambutan without the fluffy bits.
I don't think anyone has ever described a rambutan as fluffy bits.
I would say it actually has a little more flavor than a rambutan, but maybe it's just because it's in season or whatever. It's been a long time since I've had a rambutan. It's good. It's really good. It's like a grape-ish texture inside, a little bit bigger than a grape, and it's got a big seed on the inside. That's pretty tasty. We only have one of these, so I'm gonna save that so that Katie gets a bit. And we actually have our big breakfast, of which we only ordered one. We're gonna split that. And I think we'll let Katie do a little bit of the digging in that one.
The breakfast is mainly like pancakes, spam, sausage, and sausage links as opposed to patties. I know there's probably other countries where there's the link to patty gamble, or which you prefer. I probably prefer the patty, but I'm not opposed to the link. That was a fun little gamble to see what they were going to bring out here. We also asked for like hash browns, and we've got bacon, and I asked for 2 surprise eggs. We got a scramble, and we've got, I think it's an over easy. It's not a sunny side up, so I think it's an over easy.
We're adults.
Yes, we know about the eggs. So one of them's gonna break open and probably coat all of the hash browns, and then we got a bit of the scramble. I never order scrambled eggs.
Oh,
I always
do.
wonder
That's my basic jam.
I think the runny egg has taken over. That's a fresh egg. I feel like no seasoning's really been added to it because it's not needed. It's not like a over the top egg or anything like that, but you don't need to add stuff. There's also salt and pepper on the table, so maybe they leave that up to you. It's very fresh. Not that I really know what a non-fresh egg would be like. Yeah.
Get a little bit of pancake, because like, explain the Japan fascination with Hawaiian pancakes. If you do you know what I mean?
Ah, yes. I didn't even think about that. Apparently, like Japan thinks that Hawaii is all about pancakes, and it might be. There might be pancakes all over the place, but this is not a thought that I have about Hawaii. Like when I think about Hawaii, if I think about Hawaiian food, I probably do think about pork. Because you see like the luau's and the pork and whatnot. I don't think about pancakes. And when I got a guidebook, all it had in it was pancakes.
Japanese guidebook. Right.
Japanese guidebook, yes. It's a solid pancake.
Maybe they're onto something.
It's definitely better than what I can make at home because I'm not a good pancake maker. This meal is very exciting, and I'm glad that we ordered it because I'm going to get these hash browns going. I haven't had a hash brown in like 3 years. That was good.
We finished our breakfast, minus one piece that we were told to save for last. And we asked her what this is called, and she called it lulokoi. And we think that this is the same thing as a passion fruit. She told us to save it for last because it is really tart. And I have to confess, I have already had a little bit of this because she brought some of this stuff to put on our pancakes, and I used it on my last bite of pancakes, and it's a little tart, it's a little delicious. So I'm gonna get in here and get some of the raw dog, and I'm trying to leave a little for Katie there. A little. Whoa. So I've had passion fruit drinks and stuff. I've had passion fruit drinks and stuff, but I don't know if I've ever actually had it like this. Its texture is, pardon my description, it's a little snotty. It's slimy and kind of stuck together, and there's seeds in it that give it a little bit of like a crunch, but it is a punch in the face of sour. It is really sour. Think of like, what are those little candies that we used to eat when we were kids? Those really sour ones?
Sour Patch Kids?
No, not Sour Patch Kids. Warheads. It's in Warhead territory. Yeah, I can see why we saved that for last. It's an adventure of a fruit. Editing Eric from the future here once again. I just wanted to remind everybody that we were during this time period having a little problem with the microphone cable that hooks into the camera. You can actually see the microphone setup right there. It's got a new cable on it. The old cable had gone bad. We didn't notice it. I explained it kind of in the last video. And it still affected the day that we were shooting that you're going to be watching from this point forward about 10 minutes. And then after that, I don't know why, it starts working again. So most of the problems with the audio disappear. So I'm going to go through and clean up the audio as much as I can, lower the volume so it doesn't blow your speakers out, and subtitle anything that might be kind of hard to understand what we're saying. And hopefully that is ideal for everybody, because that's all I can do at this point, because that's all I got. We've come back over to the Volcanoes National Park today, and the first thing we did is head over and go on a ranger tour.
Rangers!
And this girl who like knows a lot of stuff about this place went around and like, told us some things.
She had like really cool swagger.
Yeah.
Like Hawaiian Ginger Ranger swagger. It was an incredible amalgamation of a person that was really factual but yet had real, like, her own true swagger. It was great.
So she showed us some of like the plants and stuff that were here, and explained how they got here, like via the 3 W's. Do you remember the 3 W's?
Wind, water, wings.
Yes.
Yes,
And that's how life got here, and then gave us a little walk over to the edge of the crater, or one of the craters of one of the mountains that you can get to right now, because a big part of this area is actually closed because of toxic gas and stuff coming up out of the earth. So we get to see the area that is not going to kill us, and that's where she brought us. So we get this really cool view over this huge caldera that actually had a big chunk of it fall last year. Every 600 years, basically all the lava drains out of it, and then it collapses in on itself. And one time happened 600 years ago, and one time happened last year.
Oh, just last year.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so like this big section of it collapsed in and they lost part of the road. And I think there's like a museum that you used to be able to go to, but you can't go to the museum anymore because it's too close to the edge of the crater.
I thought you were going to say it's in the earth.
It's in the earth. It might be in the earth. That's the thing. Like they don't want you going in earth. But when you look at it now, you get a cool view of a big hole in the ground that has got a bunch of steam coming out of it. And then she'll spit out a million numbers about how deep this hole is and like all this craziness and
the
2,000 feet and like all kinds of crazy.
Yeah, it goes down 2,000 feet. It's about 2 miles wide. She said that the difference between a crater and a caldera is that a caldera is more than 1 mile wide and a crater is less than that. And I thought all those facts were pretty cool. Like I get my ruler out, start measuring things.
Aside from what we've just spit out there of our perfect rendition of her tour, do you have any
Ranger
other?
Jamie. If you come, hopefully you get cool. Ranger Jamie.
did you have any other favorite facts that we just learned on this little walk around?
All the numbers I just spit, those are my favorites.
That's what your favorite facts were?
Yeah.
Well, I'm out of
I
things
like
to
numbers,
say now.
Data.
It's pretty cool though, man. It's baller to see something. No, this is one of the youngest volcanoes in the world.
Oh, youngest volcano in the world.
Popping
yes.
facts.
So, baby.
One more tidbit that Ranger Jamie had told us about that just hit me is that these ridges behind us show layers, and the layers indicate each lava flow that would have existed, and you can see that there's quite a high stack of them, and that just shows that how old this is and how long it's been going on. And it's kind of phenomenal to think about that because it is one of the newest volcanoes that exists, and it has still had enough time to do that and still be classified as a baby.
We found a steam vent. Let me demonstrate. Steamy. We were informed not to go in there. Thank you, Ranger Jamie. Pink. Did you get my jump? How cool is this? It's just taken over. It has a whole different feel here than like 20 feet ago. 20 feet ago we were kind of just, it was cool, and now you really feel like you're
it is
steaming.
It's warmer. It's definitely warmer.
It's definitely warmer. Now I want to take my coat off, whereas like less than 5 minutes ago I never even would have thought of that. So it's getting steamier and warmer over here and moister. All those things. Keep walking along with the steam and you get closer and closer to this amazing view of the caldera.
This is a good way to keep people out of an area that you don't want them going in. Training for fire ants. Like, I'm not interested in this. Like, some people will be like, I'll go in the steam vent even if there's a sign, or I'll go like walk along the edge of the caldera if there's a sign. They don't give a damn about that. But fire ants, probably an effective way to keep people out from mucking around.
If you're the only person in the quiet area, are you breaking the rules? Is it okay if I talk?
I'm here.
Is it okay?
Yeah, briefly.
Briefly. It smells like CDRs. Back in the day, you used to open CDRs and you open them up and they kind of smelled like butterscotch. And that's what it smells like. But not like, it doesn't smell like butterscotch. It smells like CDRs. Like knockoff butterscotch.
We've walked a few minutes over to what's called the Sulphur banks, and that's exactly what you're thinking, where the hydrothermal whatnots is happening in the ground and the water is coming out and all that, and it is put sulfur onto all the rock, and like the mineral and everything is just right to make that delightful smell that you get when you're in a sulfur area. And they've got this nice walkway wooden path that keeps you elevated above the ground, because like this ground is like kind of unpredictable because it moves underneath and there's things happening that you can't see, so sometimes it's thicker and thinner, etc. And they have got this monument here, this little sign, and it is a monument to the stupidity of a guy in the year of 2000, and he decided he was going to walk out on this and he fell in, and it is 205 degrees in there, so probably a bummer.
There's a tiny crater that's an offshoot of the caldera.
You call this tiny?
It's tinier than a caldera, and we just saw some like ants down there, and they're people, and we are going to join the ants now. We are trying to get on this trail that's out here walking over this crater next to the caldera.
It's 1.2 miles down just from the, I guess, the rim of the crater that we were on to the area where you can walk across it.
That's not a straight drop. That's the zigzag.
Yeah. It's like a zigzag that goes through the forest, which is what we're working on now. I feel like we're both pretty well prepared for this with our footwear and everything. So I think we should be just fine.
Just fine.
Actually, I was a little worried about it, but the path is really not that bad.
Do we ever prepare for anything? Like right now, we have no food, we have no water. Our footwear is terrible.
Well, we did eat.
We don't have any rain gear.
We have no rain gear, no. We brought the camera, a battery, extra battery, and an SD card, so...
And giggles.
That's all set. Giggles. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think we'll be fine. We're just like wearing sombreros and flip-flops. No big deal.
Oh, sorry about that. I lost the video there because you are flip-flopping all over your pants.
Am I getting muddy?
Yeah, you're getting a bit muddy.
That's a bummer. Got to do some laundry.
Seriously, that seems kind of scary. Like, I really don't know if we should be here. But I mean, there's signs that tell us that, cool, go on out there. But this is like getting on a roller coaster that doesn't move. You were the roller coaster the entire time. Hopefully everything goes okay.
This straight up looks like earthquake devastation. And I mean, in a way, I guess it is. But I guess what I find surprising about it is that it looks like a parking lot that was in a major earthquake and everything got shifted and broken. I went up to northern Japan about a year after the giant tsunami, earthquake, and nuclear disaster that they had in 2011, and there were areas they hadn't finished yet, and it basically just looked like this still. It's very similar looking. This seems like maybe it's a little thicker, I don't know, but it's really familiar but alien looking at the same time. This has got to be the closest you can get to being on the moon without a rocket ship. It's just this giant, flat, opened area. It seems like if you were going to land on the moon in the Apollo program, you'd be like, yeah, this would be a good place because, like, you can find a place to sit down without tipping over your, like, your spaceship. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty wide. It's huge feeling. You know it's big because you saw it from above, but it's sort of hard to judge distance because there are some trees, but you don't really know how big they are.
Yeah.
And it's just this big, flat, opened area. There are some areas also on the perimeter where there is steam coming up out of. And something that one of the signs said is if you come down here, you'd be able to feel the heat, but we can't feel the heat. I'm taking my flip-flops off. And
it kind of feels warm.
Do you think it feels warm?
A little bit here.
Do you think that it's just like one of those, like, you know what I mean? Like you got told that?
Like a mental thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I put my butt on things and I tried to gauge the warmth from that. I do think it feels a little bit warmer. But it could just be people been walking through here, roughing up the rocks.
I need enough people for that kind of friction.
Yeah, that's true. It's interesting. At least I want it to be warmer. But then I also don't want us to sink into the bottom of the world.
Right off the edge of the trail, there is a area where there's steam coming out of the volcano that I'm in. And it is significantly warmer if you put your feet on these rocks than it is on the rocks over there, obviously because of the steam. And that kind of reminds me of what I had been wondering earlier that I then got an answer to, which might be something you might be wondering, and I'm going to give you the answer to, is how does a plant grow in this type of an environment? And the answer to that is that the heat from the rocks pulls the humidity out of the air and turns it into steam. And then some of these plants have adapted to grow in special ways that they can go down into the rocks with their roots and stuff and get that humidity and that moisture out of the air, and that's where they're getting their water. And then obviously they got here because a bird pooped out a seed and it fell on the ground. But that's how this stuff is adapted. It's actually really hot all of a sudden. Do not put your foot on the hole of the volcano. It is warm. It really actually started to burn me. Yeah, this is pretty wild, man. It's like, you know, you're feeling the earth and stuff. You can't do this everywhere. I feel like Katie was like, we shouldn't be allowed to be here. Kind of feel the same. Like I feel that too. Woo, exciting. I'm going to talk about the moon stuff some more. So I actually know quite a lot about the moon landings. Yeah, the moon, not the moon specifically, but the moon landings and the way that have been described by the astronauts. I used to be like really super into that kind of thing. And they would always talk about how you would see these giant rocks and stuff, and they seemed like they were small in the distance. Then when you got up next to them, they were the size of a house or bigger than that. And I'm always like, hard to visualize exactly what that would feel like, but I can see what that feels like because of, like, just this thing behind us is that's what's going on. That's just like a big, it's not a rock.
Smoldering rubble.
But it's like a big explosion from under the ground, you know, an uplifting of some sort. And it is like the size of a house or bigger than a house, like a couple stories. It would be a process to climb up that thing.
Yes, it would be.
And then we're walking through a valley of them because there's another one right there behind us. So this thing is actually pretty big as well. I wonder if it's easy to see in the camera or if it's going to be difficult to understand that in the camera the same way it sort of was until we got right up next to them. You know what I mean? But just be assured they're large.
They are large. So we found a really good way to show you the roots off of the rock house that we were just talking about. These roots are just kind of sitting out in the open, in the air, and the heat from this rock, which is slightly warm, it's not like super hot, but steam is coming out of this rock. That steam comes around and it just attaches itself to the roots, and the roots just absorb it. There's no lack of water. It's having a good drink right now. I'm gonna stand on this bump over here while this dummy does this.
So we're walking along here, and apparently it sounds kind of hollow. We're all good.
We're getting close to where we're gonna climb out of the crater, and I kind of noticed just by looking at the sand, even from up here, you can see that it's kind of dazzling. So I got down low and it looks like volcanic black sand and then little bits of gold inside of it. And Eric's idea is that that's just regular looking sand right up against this volcanic rock, and it's just dazzling. And I've spent some minutes sitting here trying to go back and forth with people because the wall of the crater is allowing for a huge echo to happen. Like, I can hear this kid yelling really loud over there. So Eric did some whistling. Somebody did like the same noise back, and then I tried to do Marco Polo, but maybe I'm talking to who knows, somebody that doesn't know Marco Polo. It could be an Australian person over there, and maybe they don't know about that. But we did some alohas back and forth.
You think Australians don't know about the Marco Polo?
They do Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
maybe you're right. Maybe
so I could have done
Australian
that.
Here.
Yeah, I don't know what dialect of English that little kid is screaming, but
got an aloha.
Got an aloha. The only guidance that you have on this trail is just to follow the large stacks of rocks. And this is probably the biggest one. It's the only one I've seen that's bigger than me. So Eric also told me to pick up one of the rocks, and I did. And there's absolutely no way to show on television, or we're not even on television, on the internet, how light this rock is. It's ridiculously light because it's extremely porous. It really does have you, it has your mind tricked that all this stuff looks really, really heavy. I don't know how to start this video, so what happened?
You can see I'm huffing and a puffing because we're coming like up, and some of these steps these are not normal like in your house steps. Some of these steps are like this. So I've got this rail here. I'm using this and like at the camera in the other hand, just walking, climbing up these stairs. I get to this one, I grab this, I put all my weight in it. It's like, blow! And that's a pretty sudden surprise. Like, you got the camera in this hand, like you're gonna want to catch yourself, and thankfully the other end of this is still attached, sort of. But if you are watching this and you are responsible for this, I'm not upset. I'm just saying, come fix this guy so somebody doesn't break their camera.
We're on the top of Mauna Loa.
We're not exactly on the top.
Yeah, that's true. There's many roads. There's 3 roads that go up Mauna Loa, and
Mauna Loa is, if you don't know, the largest volcano in the world if measured from the sea floor, because it has pushed itself down so that where it sits on the seafloor is lower than like the normal seafloor in the area, I guess.
Thanks, Ranger Jamie.
Thanks, Ranger Jamie. And then of course it comes up out of the ocean to a reasonable distance.
Where we are now. We've come up one road that has like a little lookout, and it is 2,000 meters above sea level. There's another lookout that's above 3,000, and maybe that's where a lot of people are going to hang out and do their stargazing. We don't know if either of those are above the clouds. Right now we are sitting in a cloud, and it did go over and we had a little glimpse of Venus for a moment, hoping that we get another one of those, but kind of just gonna wait and see what happens.
Yeah, it's only like 6 o'clock or something, so it's not dark yet, so we're gonna wait a little bit and see. But like they have all those observatories and stuff and telescopes here because there's no light that's polluting everything.
Yeah.
So even from where we've been staying, when you look up at night, you can see the Milky Way, and it's like stunning.
It is stunning.
We're just, I don't know, it's just cool to come to like the upper part of a mountain and see if we can see it from up here, but it is a bit cloudy, so we're not sure how well that's gonna work out. But we do have balls. Donkey balls.
We're gonna have our fika for the day, which is.
I'd like to point out we didn't script that. Like,
no, not at all.
we're just on the same page. We're on the same wavelength.
So we got these the other day. They are called donkey balls, and this is our late day fika because we're not timing things out as we do.
We got the coconuts.
We got the flaky donkey balls. So you see the coconut that's on the outside, and it's got chocolate. I don't know if there's a nut. I think there might be a nut. I think there's a macadamia nut inside of here.
Yeah,
mac nuts. They call them mac nuts.
Okay. All right. Are we getting into this?
Yep.
So what are we doing this to?
The donkey balls.
All right. Clink. Clink.
All I got was chocolate. Did you find a nut?
There's a nut inside, yeah.
Holy crap. That's a lot of chocolate.
No, a lot of chocolate. The core of this thing is a lot smaller than the rest of the planet. I mean, it's good. A piece of chocolate. It's one of those, like, kitschy, like, it's kind of like a Big Johnson t-shirt.
It's a dad joke.
It's a dad joke.
I'm taking the other donkey balls home to my dad because it's funny. I have to say that for the flaky ones, it just kind of seems like maybe this sat at the store for too long. I don't know. I kind of expected more flake to actually stay on to the flaky balls. But
it's not trashy chocolate, but it probably would offend Europeans.
Yes, I would definitely say if you gave this to the donkey that made this. We're really apologetic, but we're also very honest.
Spitting some truth, y'all.
Yeehaw.
All right, so we waited. What is the shadow from Carmela? We waited a few minutes, and then the stars came out, and we didn't wait till it got like ridiculously dark. It's not the middle of the night or whatever. It's before 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it's only like 7:30.
But it got dark enough that you can see the Milky Way, and you can see a shit ton of stars. And because it's not super late yet, you can see satellites going by because they are still high enough to be catching the light from the sun.
Yeah,
and
that was really cool.
Streaking across.
And I saw 3 satellites and 3 shooting stars.
How did you tell the difference? Satellite is just a steady light.
Yeah, it's a
they
steady
move
light.
so fast. It's so cool. This is really exciting to us because we live in Tokyo, and like if you can see the moon, you're like, wow, look at the moon. But like here you can see so much. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I was quite stunned. Being able to see the Milky Way is astonishing.
I'm not a camera person really, despite like what I'm doing at the moment with this camera. So I don't really know how to take photos of things, but I made a couple of long exposure shots, and I'll put those shots in this video and stuff. You can see kind of what we saw, like it gives a little bit of an idea of what we got to see. But it's really hard to focus. I don't know how people with like that are really doing like photography of stars focus, because you can't see the stars to focus on them because it's so dark. So I don't understand how that works, but I did my best. It was a little fuzzy probably, but it's still kind of fun to try and play with these different settings.
But it certainly is just amazing how many stars are out there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's shocking. And I think you can see like galaxy clusters and stuff in the photos, but I can't tell until I look on the computer if you can actually see them.
We're gonna need to bigger size that galaxy.
For sure. Zoom, enhance.
Enhance.
All right, so it's Christmas morning, and I don't think we've explained this yet, but we, via a series of mistakes with hotels and bookings and things, it's not a big deal. We don't have a place to stay tonight, but it's our last day on the island, so what we're going to do is we're going to head over to the Kona side, which is the side of the island we haven't had a chance to explore at all because of how big the island is. it's just hard to get all the way across it, make a full day of it, come all the way back. So we're flying out of Kona tomorrow, so we figured we'll go to Kona, we'll hang out in Kona today. Everything's gonna be closed because it's Christmas, but we'll just at least get to see like what the place looks like and stuff. And then we're gonna sleep in the car, and then we're gonna get up in the morning and return the car, get on an airplane, fly to Kauai. So that's the basic plan right now.
Yeah.
So we do our Christmas hard, like it's pretty legit, like real traditional stuff. And
real traditional.
It's so traditional that we are also making our Christmas breakfast, and we're doing that in the car on the way to Kona. And our Christmas breakfast consists of a tortilla with creamy peanut butter, Honey Nut Cheerios, and we're gonna slice up some banana.
And put some banana on it. Yeah, this is what we're doing.
Now, some people are gonna be like, "This is horrible. What are you doing?" But Christmas dinner, Christmas breakfast, etc., is usually. You can go ahead with it. You can keep moving.
I just want to explain that you got to put the Cheerios directly onto the peanut butter. It will stick much better to that than it will to the banana.
That's true.
Yeah.
So people are gonna look at this and be like, "That's crazy." But Christmas foods and stuff, I think if we go back a long time, they would be having a big feast of food that they otherwise couldn't. They don't eat that every day, right?
Yeah.
Like that's not their everyday stuff. So we figured this is kind of not our everyday stuff either, because in Japan it's really hard to get tortillas.
Can't get Cheerios, can't get tortillas,
can't get good peanut butter.
Can't get good peanut butter, can get bananas.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but I mean,
I'm chucking them.
You got to have a banana.
Do ya?
Yeah, every day you got to have your daily banana.
I have an apple.
So this is. This is really just very exotic eatings for us. So this works out really well. It's a good Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. This is some real Anthony Bourdain shit, you know what I mean? No. I didn't know how all that was going to dance together. And it's just okay. The crunch is fun. The bananas are a bit green, which is how bananas should be. So that part's really tasty. I would say, if you're going to be sleeping in the car for Christmas and everything's closed, this is going to do you good.
As we're leaving to go over to Kona, we're making a stop because one of my cousins had told me about Leilani Estates, and that in 2018, some little cracks had formed and people weren't really worried about it, and then all of a sudden some lava started coming out, and I assume this is not like super surprising to everyone, but we're standing in the middle of a residential neighborhood, and Leilani Estates is where people be living. The lava just started flowing for 3 months, carrying lava all the way out to the ocean.
Assuming it destroyed some houses, right?
Yeah, it definitely destroyed some houses. I asked him, like, well, what happens? And he's like, they're just displaced. Like, they got to go somewhere else. I mean, there's nothing there anymore. We saw on one of the maps that I looked at, this lava flowed down to a coastal town, and in parentheses, they just wrote, gone. That town is gone. That is stunning. My cousin also told me that maybe we could poke around here and feel some warm lava, maybe light some sticks on fire. I don't know. It would be very fun if we can do that, but we've come to just this one road, and there's a barrier that says that you should not trespass.
Like, kind of obviously, you know what I mean? They don't want tourists going over there and burning their flip-flops.
And then what's even funnier is we just saw some people walk across the lava field as we were sitting here making videos. So it might be safe, it might not be. We're not going to go past this, because if somebody came here and told us, like, oh, well, I'm writing you a citation, they'd have every right to. So we're going to stay on this side.
This is so new that we looked on Google Street View to see what this looked like, to see if, you know, like, does it represent this properly? And the satellite view does. You can see the lava flow on the satellite view, but on the Google Street View, it's straight up, just like where we're standing, just keeps going straight. But where we're standing now clearly does not keep going straight. There is something stopping it, and it is the Earth. And it's pretty wicked looking, because we have seen a couple of different lava flows that I think are a little bit older, not super old, but this one being so fresh has got what looks like really steep, like not mountains, but adjutments. Like, how would you say, like something that juts up out of the ground?
Yeah, that's good.
That's the word now, adjutments that comes up, and there's red rock and stuff on them, and it just looks very primal and very hardcore. It looks like Looks like a really good metal album or something. Like,
just come out to Leilani Estates, shoot the metal album.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think that, like, I'm not going past this, but I kind of do feel like if we were with your cousin and he was like, oh, it's no big deal, then maybe I'd be like, all right, we'll go over there and not show the signs on the video so nobody yells at us.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think we're just going to play it safe, keep our flip-flops in good conditions, and just head to Kona.
So along with probably taking out a good number of houses and a chunk of this neighborhood, the lava went straight down to the ocean and obviously had to cut across like normal infrastructure such as roads. And we kind of rode around in the area and we saw that the lava goes straight past Eric. And there was a road there before and there's still a road there now. And Eric goes, how'd they get the road here? They had to rebuild it. So this is a freshly made road because they had to tear out all the... Well, my question would be, what was happening? People had to just go around? So it rerouted all, like, some lives?
Yeah, I mean,
you can't drive through the lava.
That's a really good question, because I guess you could have a situation where there's only one road into an area.
Yeah.
And then how, if a lava flow came and cut that road off and you lived on the other side of the lava flow?
Get a helicopter to drop some supplies, I guess, and
like,
hope that the lava doesn't...
I guess you don't live there for that time period. You're displaced until they fix the road.
And hope that maybe your house survives it and you just weren't there to...
It's intense, man.
Yeah.
People live here living under different circumstances. We were talking about how a lot of natural disasters, I mean, many natural disasters are really dangerous, but a lot of them are not necessarily preventable, but you can do things to, like, help negate the...
Like if you have a big hurricane, you can put up things to help with flooding and...
Yeah, and like a city could even build like a wall to help from a flood wall or something, like if the city is being responsible. Or if you have an earthquake prone area, you can build buildings to a certain like earthquake readiness. And like a lot of things can be built around nature. But this is lava coming up out of cracks of the earth. It's not like you can like change something like about the infrastructure or build your house a little better and all of a sudden it's lava proof. It's just what it is. Like, I guess the best defense is just going by what scientists say about like where it's dangerous to build and not building in those places and then hoping that nothing else changes so that the safe place you built doesn't become unsafe.
Yeah.
It's crazy to watch. Look at this.
There's steam.
There's steam coming up off of this because it's so fresh. It's still hot.
It's either that or there's an actual direct, like, in the park. Okay, it's really starting to rain. This is Hilo. Be careful. We just drove a few more feet down the road because we saw some people stopping in this area. And Eric said, well, we're going to drive at least the 10 more feet to see if they're looking at something amazing. And they certainly are because it just sprinkled down. And my cousin had been telling me that this is so fresh that when the rain comes down, it actually steams still because it's warm. That's crazy. It's just on the side of the road. We didn't have to go into a national park, into a caldera or crater or whatever. You just drove here and it's steamy.
Touch it and see if it's warm. That famous, that's great advice. The steam is definitely warm.
The steam is definitely warm.
Yeah.
The rock, probably not.
Because of how porous the rocks are, the water just goes straight down into the earth. Like, they're immediately dry almost. So it's probably just going down far enough that it's catching that heat and bringing it all right back up.
This is stunning.
Yeah.
Gonna get in the steam.
On the Big Island, there is a road called Saddle Road that runs from one side of the island to the other, cutting kind of through the middle and going between two of the biggest mountains on the island. I guess probably the two biggest mountains on the island. One of the two is called Mauna Kea, and it is a place where there have been scientific observatories and telescopes and stuff looking into the stars for quite some time. And something that has started happening, I believe this started happening this year, they wanted to build a new telescope up there and they were supposed to start moving the pieces of the telescope up in the early summer, July-ish time period. And what ended up happening is a bunch of native Hawaiians came and set up a roadblock to protest moving the equipment for that telescope up to the mountain. And the reasons behind it is complex and I am not an expert. I have only had a briefing on it based on things that I've heard from people who have lived here. But the basic story, watered down to the absolute most watery level, is that the ancient Hawaiians considered the top of the mountain to be a spiritual place. It was a holy place essentially for them. And they don't want the current Hawaiian population, the people that have Hawaiian blood and people who may still be part of that community and stuff, don't want to have another thing go up there. And there are little pieces of it that get a little complex because the government had agreed, like, we're gonna do all these tests to make sure it doesn't hurt anything, and then they didn't do them or something, and they got upset, and there's bickering and back and forth between that, and the government was supposed to remove some of the telescopes that are there before they put a new one up, and they didn't remove that one, and just things like that have been handshaking back and forth, and it hasn't worked out. So since it's now December, it's Christmas Day right now, and since I think around July, these people have been camped out protesting, and they have got porta potties, and they've got shelters, and they have got quite a few people, and they've got a little tent area that is quite literally sitting on the access road that goes up to the top of the mountain, stopping anything from going up there. The part about it that has affected us, and I mean, it's not a big deal because we found another point that we could do this, is that you can go up this road typically if it's not being blocked, and you can go up to a visitor center, and sometimes you can actually take a tour all the way to the top of the mountain, and you can get really amazing views of the stars and stuff. Obviously, that's why there's telescopes there. We went to the other mountain and went up a little ways, and we saw beautiful views, so we're completely cool. But when we were planning our trip and stuff, we were like, oh, we're gonna go up there and do this thing, and then we realized it's not gonna happen because it's closed. You can't get past all the protesters. I know that I am stepping around things because I don't want to like have a strong opinion. I don't live here. I don't have any connection to this. I have no strong opinion about what is actually going on here. I don't feel like I should have an opinion. I just am explaining what it is that we're seeing and what is going on. And if you are a viewer of this and you do have an opinion and you do have information that people might be interested in and you want to drop that into the comments of this, that would be cool, because I'm not going to go out there and say that I am an expert at all, obviously. So when we did come over here, we went into the little area where they have like a community tent, I guess is what I would call it. And they have got some people playing some rather beautiful music, Hawaiian music, ukuleles and a slide steel guitar type thing. And they are actually serving food and stuff. And they told us if we wanted some food, we could have some. But we're not gonna take the food of the people that are staying here and doing all this stuff. We're just passing by and just having a look. You know what I mean? Like people that are living up here that are really putting down some time. Obviously, that's who the food should be saved for. But the food looked amazing. Like it was on, you know, like paper plates and stuff, and like somebody was really cooking some serious Hawaiian food. Like it looked amazing. But it was a fairly welcoming situation, and it seemed like they are just kind of here, you know, to stop the people from going up there and building the telescope they don't want up there. But it doesn't seem sketchy or scary or anything like that. A woman came and introduced herself, shook our hand. Another guy talked to us about some clouds and stuff. It was, you know, it was fine. It didn't feel like it was an angry protest, at least not directed in our direction. Yeah, but that's what's going up here on the pass.
Another small tidbit is that I read in the newspaper that they have set out that there will be arrests possibly made tomorrow if anyone continues to be in this area. So the camp out, like the amount of shelters that I think we're seeing today is definitely a decrease from what was here earlier in the week, earlier months, and hopefully nothing really bad happens here, but it seems like it could if arrests start happening.
We've popped over to the other side of the island, over to the Kona-esque area, and my understanding is that This side of the island is much older as far as the lava flows go. You can see looking out over the ocean here that there are a bunch of lava flows, but they've got quite a lot more vegetation growing out of them than what we had seen, like especially in the one we saw this morning that was from 2018, which was like basically there was nothing, and when it rained it still steamed from the heat. So I think that this is just a little more beat down, and the environment is quite a lot different here. Maybe it's because there's so many lava flows on this side that there isn't the larger vegetation. There's just smaller grassy vegetation, but it has created a situation where the climate is different, where it doesn't rain all the time. I'm not sure if the climate, not rain, I just realized, like, is it because the climate isn't so rainy that there aren't big plants, or are there not big plants, so therefore there's not like the right humidity in the air to create the climate to rain? I don't know if it's I don't know how this works. But regardless, there is much older looking rock. It's a lot like more broken down, like time has beat it down, wind and probably rain, even though it's not as common as it is on the other side. And it just has a little more of an ancient feel.
Even if we might try as hard as we might, we've still ended up at KFC. And KFC used to be a tradition for us because Japanese people love KFC. That is Christmas dinner to them. And we did that a few times in Japan, and the last time that we did it, it actually made us like not feel very well. So we're a bit worried about this meal, but Merry Christmas.
The reason that we're worried is because we're sleeping in the car. There ain't no toilet in the car, y'all.
There's gonna be a toilet in the car.
The first thing that we noticed about this side of the island is that there seems to be a lot more tourism.
Yes, a lot more hotels, a lot more people, a lot more everything that wasn't on the other island minus rain.
Oh, other side of the island. Yeah, it's not raining, so it's sprinkling a little bit, but it's not like downpouring. But there is like a little area that's just a little beach town type of thing that's going on, and it seems a little more substantial than what we saw when we were in Hilo as far as a beach town goes.
And we were having a little chat about that, and I feel like I'm happy that we went to the other side. It was very relaxed.
Yeah, it was. This is interesting though, because when I came here in like the late 80s, early 90s when I was a kid, my image of this side of the island is it was the remote side. But I was 10, maybe that is sort of like not super accurate. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're 10, things are just kind of different. So maybe it was kind of built up like this, but I get the feeling that in the past 30 years or so, that this side has gotten much, much more built up, and a lot of the resorts and hotels and stuff are relatively new. But this side of the island seems to, just from a drive-through, have quite a different vibe, like we had mentioned. And we have come down to a rocky little coast, and we saw some quite nice beaches. There was a black sand beach and a white sand beach that were essentially right next to each other, and they looked really nice. And we've come down to this red beach, and it's just a rocky beach, but there's a couple of people out there swimming. I don't know if they should be swimming. It looks a little dangerous, but maybe they know the area. I don't know. I'm not going to judge. But I don't think I'm going to be getting in the water for two reasons. One, because I drown in this type of water. And two, because we're sleeping in the car tonight and I don't want to sleep all covered in funk and no way to really clean myself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No showers till Kauai.
Yeah, till we get to the next island. And from here we can see a Captain Cook monument. And we were hoping we'd get down here and there'd be a placard that explained a little bit about that. We know he died on this island, but that's about the limit of it. And I think, was he the first Westerner to come here?
Yeah.
I think that's what we remember. We read it a couple days ago. There's no placard here. And then we're like, oh, we'll check the internet. There's also no cell phone signal. So we really don't know. But
I just saw the monument and I was like, Captain Cook? That sounds fantastical. So that's why we're here.
And we tried to take a hike to go down to it, but we went to the trailhead and there's a sign and a bunch of people telling us if we do it in flip-flops, we're going to have a bad time.
Yeah.
So we decided to just come to the other side of the bay where you can drive and you can get a view, and we're going to have some fika.
Time for fika. And when did KFC start giving out cookies with all the meals? When did this happen?
I know the Colonel's peddles his chicken, but when did he start peddling cookies?
I don't know, but I'll enjoy it. Have you seen one of these before? They are cryptic, sometimes very difficult to understand, almost to the point that you feel like they're just setting you up for a ticket. So here's our situation. On that side, there's no parking. We're parked on this side. On this side, it says no parking at the top, 30-minute loading zone from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. It is outside of those times. Like right now, it's probably 7 p.m. and we still wonder if we're okay to be parked here. And I have deemed that we are fine because we're not in that time bracket at all. But I still worry about that no parking that's just sitting up there at the top. Like somebody would come by and just say, you're not allowed to park here anytime, as opposed to saying outside of those times, it's okay to park here.
What gets me is the line between them. Is this a no parking sign, but you can load for 30 minutes between these times?
Yes.
Or is this a you can't park here during these times sign? That line makes it feel like no parking, and then here's some exceptions.
So the other thing I've thought of is that the plaque. The plaque in itself is the thing, not the line between.
So is the car going to get towed? Because if a car gets towed, we don't have any place to sleep tonight.
We've decided that if we see a police officer, we're going to ask them. I've already asked people that work in the restaurant that's right behind us.
And we got a yes and a no.
I got a yes and a no. But the yes was based on logic, like thinking it out and talking it out in the same way that we did. The other one was based in just, my friend got a ticket, so you shouldn't park there ever. I wouldn't park there. So, no, I want you to think it out. I want you to be on the same page with me, because this is obviously like a parking spot. There's a little bracket around it. There is a parking spot available here, but I don't know if it's available for us right now.
Maybe we load or unload.
We got out of the car. That was a massive load. You know those amusement parks where you can stand on the bridge that's like outside of Splash Mountain and everybody gets blasted with the water? That's what this little thing is right over here. Eric was trying to get me to walk on this side of the road. He's like, let's take the gamble. I don't think there's much chance that you would get out of that not wet. Did it splash at all? So we spent our evening walking around Kona, just leisurely enjoying ourselves with no goal in mind at all. That's beach life. And we've come back to the car, so we're back to the drama of the can we park here? And the good news is we have received no ticket during our time here. How long we've been here? About 2 hours, maybe? Yeah. The bad news is that when we were on the exact opposite side of the cove, we went up to a police officer. It was a woman, and she seemed busy, but happy to help us. And I showed her the parking thing, showed her where we were parking, asked her, and she said, I probably wouldn't park there. And you know that like my heart sank in my stomach. I was like, oh my God, we have a ticket, we have a ticket, we have a ticket. She said it's gonna be a $35 ticket, so heart raised a little bit, didn't really care about $35. And then she said on top of that, it's Christmas, we're really not out looking for that right now, because this is like one of their biggest days of the year, one of the biggest times of the year for people to be coming to Hawaii. They got bigger noise to worry about. And as we turned around the corner, we noticed that they were arresting someone that was sitting on the ground. She took the time out with a smile on her face to help me figure out my parking situation, and that was just kind of nice.
But we still don't have any conclusive. She was not she said you probably could get a ticket, and then she was like, I wouldn't park there, and then she was like, but I wouldn't give you a ticket. But
yes.
It seemed like somebody would give you a ticket. So we don't know. She really didn't. She was like, the sign says no parking, so probably no parking, probably. It was not like a definitive,
yes.
We don't have a definitive answer.
There was no walkthrough that she could do with us to show us the reasoning, and
the area, it looks like you can park here. You're not in no way in front of anything. And I could understand, like, during a certain time, they probably have people bring in merchandise or, like things that they need for the shop. So there's a loading time.
During the dinner rush hour, they're probably not unloading and loading things because people are too busy to take these packages.
So this is what I find frustrating about it. And I probably found some more heated than it should be, but I have this special frustration about a lot of the ways that laws and stuff are set up in the United States, or things like this, where it's ambiguous. It's like, okay, should I do a thing or not? And then it's like, then the police have a power over you because of the ambiguity of the way that the sign is created.
Like they could tell me 3 different ways I can think of for this sign to make it illegal for me, and it's all different.
Yeah.
And you can
like
get to
even
so
the cop
outcomes.
couldn't tell us. She really didn't. She did not give us. It was like, well, maybe, and she had to think about it. Well, I probably wouldn't park there.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the same way with like in Japan, if you drink, you cannot drive. Period. 0. Like it's a zero tolerance, like if you have any alcohol. But in America, it's kind of like, well, there's
You
some
had one or
line
two.
that you can't,
Hold on.
it's
you,
one of
you
those
had
lines.
one or two drinks and you don't know what level you're at, but I've got a breathalyzer and I'll let you know whether you should have drove or not.
Yeah. It's like little laws like that. I just feel like they give a weird power to authority figures that it seems, I know some people will be like, oh my God, you can't drive at all in Japan, but it sort of like equalizes the power level between the citizen and the cop, and there isn't this huge distrust or whatever that gets built underneath of that type of stuff. I know it's just a little sign, but it's weird because it plays mind games with you.
Yes.
And when the cop,
been thinking about this all day. I mean, like not constantly, but been like, well, what do you think? What about that?
But and then when you ask a cop and they still don't know, it's really kind of jacked. That needs to be more specifically like written out so it's easier.
Yeah.
Because like otherwise they're going to send you a $35 ticket and you're just going to pay it because you're not going to take a day off to go to court, yada yada yada.
We've got digital signage now. This could turn on and off, and
it could be a bit expensive.
This could do stuff.
It should just be written right.
Good point.
It's Christmas time. The good news is that this car has the trunk area. Like you can lay down the back seats and kind of like, if you're big, stretch out a little bit. If I put my legs up, it's touching the trunk.
That sounds scary.
Yeah, so I'm doing all right. So we're gonna spend the night here tonight. And we're at a scenic overview that we haven't seen the scene from. So in the morning, that'll be kind of exciting to see what scene we've got. And other things of importance, we have found a killer lean. So we've got like one of these guys going on. Which way is it leaning? It's leaning this way. So the front is like this. So a little bit, it's weird. I don't know how to explain it, but it's kind of necessary for sleeping in the car. You get the right angles and these angles feel pretty good. So yeah, we're gonna wake up in the morning and then we're gonna see the scenic overlook and then we're going to drop off the car and then we're going to fly to Kauai. And that's how we're spending our Christmas. All right, it's 7:15. We slept kind of. Did you sleep all right?
Yeah, there was some sleeping definitely happened, and then there was some cows that were mooing. Like
there's a cow, but I don't understand where the cow would be because it didn't look like cow places.
And then there was some more sleeping, and then some roosters did some stuff at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then there was some sleeping, and then there was some raining, so I had to put the windows up, and then there was some sleeping, and now it's now.
The trunk is all right, but my issue is that I'm so skinny, my bones just poke into things that are hard, and like it's not like cushioned at all. Put down a couple of towels and stuff, but it's really not that great sleeping like that. So my hips kind of hurt right now.
You got trunk sores?
But I got some trunk sores. But here's my pro tip: like, always bring a pillowcase with you, always, because you can put things into the pillowcase, like blankets or not blankets, like jackets or like whatever, and then you can kind of have a pillow. So that made this tolerable. And we woke up and there's a squadron of roosters and chickens.
Yeah, I'm still taking pictures.
Like next to us, and that's pretty interesting. It would be nice if they had just shut up though, so we could have slept longer. And I want to show you the lean that we have on the car. And this is always hard to show, but I'm gonna try my best. So this is the camera adjusted for the lean, and then this is reality. I think that makes sense. So you have a little bit of a lean, so the blood goes someplace inside of your body. I don't know why this matters, not in a bed, but in a car, but it does. It really does. And then there is a scenic overlook, and there's this wall, and I'm going to climb up on the wall, and then I'm going to make a video of the scenic overlook that you're looking at right now, so that you can see that the scenic overlook is just the ocean, kind of nice. But I think the coolest thing I've seen this morning so far is that nice cock. How can you tell?
I'm gonna climb up on this wall. So I totally forgot to do one thing that I really wanted to do yesterday, which ended up being like 20 minutes south of where we ended up yesterday when we were looking over at Captain Cook's monument. We ended up going north after that so that we could go and check out like the city of Kona after dark. We came back down here last night and tried to sneak into a national park of some sort. And we decided that this looks really sketchy and we shouldn't do it anymore. And now we've decided that in the morning, when it's all light, we're gonna come up in here. And you'll see in a moment why we came in here. Definitely, and that moment is now. We came to see all these statues in this historical park that they have down by the water. I gotta get closer. Yeah, he's doing Kamehameha! Kamehameha! This park is really beautiful. It's basically just more stunning than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be an area where they just put up the little statues and people came over here, but it is... If you could come and swim and play here, you'd think you were in a magical land. But you can't.
That's you're definitely not supposed to, because it is a cultural center, I guess. And when they're open and they're functioning, there are not guides, but yeah, I guess guides is the right word. Rangers, guides. It's like a national park, and they are helping you understand a little bit more about pre-colonialized Hawaiian peoples and the things that they did. And that stuff is not happening right now because we are here very early because we have a flight to catch kind of soonish. So we're just kind of checking out what we can just look at, and just basically we wanted to check out those statues because we saw pictures of it and they look amazing, and they do look amazing, and so does the view that they have looking out over the sea, and you can see like a bunch of little fish and stuff, and there's a fruit on the ground. What is that? That's not a fruit. That's not a fruit.
Why is it not a fruit?
Is coconut a fruit? It's a nut.
This will take you down.
Yeah, no joke. If I hit you on the head, it would ruin your evening, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a bullet from a tree.
Yeah, so, but now I guess we got to scoot, right?
Yeah, we got to scoot after I go to the bathroom. Yeah.
The sign is kind of interesting because it is written in all Japanese aside from just the titles. And it is pretty extensive, explaining like why the turtles come here and what they're eating, and like there's a lot of turtle data here. And then if you come over to the other side of this sign, it's just English, but it's really short. It's like, they bask and sleep in the shoreline, stay 20 feet away, and that's all it says. It's interesting that they have made the Japanese so much more informative than the English side. I wonder why the English-speaking people aren't being informed quite as much, because, yo, we are in Hawaii. Are the girls in there? We're back at the airport in Kona, and we are going to be on a flight over to Kauai pretty soon. Pretty soon, as in like 10 minutes.
Should point out that this airport is really amazing.
It's all open air, and it's because it doesn't rain so much, I guess, over here, right?
I don't really know.
But it's just really unique. It's a very cool little airport. I think it's an international...
I've never seen anything like this.
I literally think it's an international airport, too. I think international flights can come and go from an open air. Yeah, it's really cool. So I have a question for you. We were on the Big Island for about a week.
Yeah.
Give me what sticks out in your head is what...
First thing was that bump. We've just been hitting all the bumps, and we just hit one, and it was really dangerous.
I'm not really going very fast.
No.
Like, I'm doing 35. Like, I'm not like blazing through here like 70 miles an hour.
First thing is the bump.
The bump with the jump.
Bump. Walking across the crater is definitely a big one. And going to what was the planetarium, which really was just seeing the sky.
Yeah.
That was
we
so
realized
stupid
that we did it on Christmas Eve, so that was our Christmas lights, was the stars.
Yes. It was really very cool. And we had talked about coming here and like driving by houses and stuff and looking at all their Christmas lights, which didn't work as well here because their residential is not like Virginia's residential. We did see lots of houses that had Christmas lights, but you couldn't just stop on the road and like admire them and enjoy them. You needed to keep going because it's like 55 miles an hour here. So seeing the Christmas lights in the sky was great.
I think that what sticks out a lot for me is just getting to hang out with your family. I don't mean to call you out on not remembering hanging out with your family.
No. I was actually thinking that it was amazing that my cousin, when I said where we were doing the bumps, he knew exactly where we were. I was
like,
thinking
you were on D-Road, that one bump, and then the other bump. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I know about that bump. Yeah,
so I think that day really does stick out for me. But just in general, I like volcanoes, just in general. They're just cool. So seeing all of the lava and going to the Volcanoes National Park and walking in the crater and stuff, it was all just really awesome.
I'm a bit sad, though.
Why?
Because we started planning this in March. It's now December, and I've been thinking about it, and it's weird to have this week already gone.
Well, we got 2 more.
But that's also a good thing. If you're sitting there thinking that your week's already gone and you're like, oh man, you did it good. Or you did it really, really badly and you're sad, but that's not the case here.
So we've got a week on Kauai and then a week on Oahu, and those videos will be coming after this video. Devastating news is we're out of cinnamon bears. There's not a bear in there, man. What are we gonna do? It really smells nice though. Whoa, we should leave the lid off in the car.
We've got too much good stuff in the car.
Oh, we've got the flowers, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should we explain the flowers?
We will, but maybe in a minute.
Okay. Where'd he go? Are you ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Kamehameha.
Thanks for enjoying the last bit of our visit to the Big Island of Hawaii. If you missed the other episodes, check down below for a playlist link. Liking, commenting, subscribing, and clicking the bell helps our channel grow. Special thanks to everyone at Patreon for helping us make videos. Without support there, we couldn't do this. If you'd like to help us keep this project going, consider supporting us there too. Links below. One-time donations to PayPal are also appreciated. Up next, we explore the beautiful island of Kauai.